Hey, was that seat taken? Perfect. It is now. You want to hear a story? Introductions are so normal and boring. Why don't we just have a story? Those are a lot more fun, you know? Okay, but I'm not asking to marry you. I'm just asking to have a little conversation. New experiences with new people. I don't see why we need to bring names or labels into anything. So about this story. Yeah, because I like stories. Stories are so much fun. You know, in a story, you could fly to the moon.